All right, convention season 2022, and going into 2022, I was still operating on the notion that options for attending conventions would still be curtailed because of COVID. But fortunately, about 99 of the 100 counties in North Carolina, 99 of the counties are actually doing live, in-person, non-virtual conventions. So that is a good thing. The bad news is that I already I took off one Saturday just for the Guilford County Republican Convention, my home convention. And then I had to take another Saturday off, and fortunately that one was Rowan County Convention, which I'll do in a later video. But before COVID, back in 2019, the idea was for me to take off at least 3 Saturdays, if not all 4 Saturdays in the month of March. And usually I would always request these off months in advance. But because my assumption for 2022 was that we were still going to be in the COVID protocols, so I just said, I'll just continue to go to my home convention, and if I have any other Saturdays off, I'll try to go to another convention. That's the way it's worked out. So this season, I'm covering Guilford and Rowan County. Last year was Guilford and Craven County. Of course, I never did the video on Craven County. And unfortunately, I think I threw the notes out on that because I had relocated back around Thanksgiving time. And I think the notes got thrown away, unfortunately. And I just waited too long to do Craven County. So, hopefully, next year, one of two things will happen. I will take the initiative to try to get all the Saturdays in March off, which is a tall order because I work in retail, a 7-day a week industry. Or the better news will be I'll have a new job working just 5 days a week. And another thing is I would try to go to more conventions during the week. I usually get Tuesdays and Wednesdays off, but the thing is the weather has not cooperated. And from my 7 years as a pizza delivery driver, I really don't want to drive in the rain if I absolutely do not have to. So that's I'm hoping I go to Vance County next week and Jones County the following week, but it all depends on the weather because both of these destinations are at least 2 hours away from my home base in Greensboro. Jones County is actually closer to 4 hours, but still, yeah. So anyway, that's my housekeeping notes for the 2022 convention cycle. Let's go on to Guilford County 2022 Republican Party Convention. First off, let's talk about the venue. For a second year in a row, it is Charity Baptist Church. Now, first of all, I want to thank Charity Baptist Church personally for hosting, for letting the Republican Party use their gymnasium and their parking lot as their venue for the convention. Now, for the second year in a row, the county we're supposed to have our convention down at Guilford Technical Community College, the Jamestown campus, at this building called the Sears Applied Technologies building. The nice thing about the GTCC venue location is that there are plenty of parking space. I mean, triple, quadruple the amount of parking spots we need. And the venue, very comfortable auditorium. People could spread out if they wanted to, too. Because of COVID concerns, or I'll even say because, I just like to spread out because I'm an introvert. I like my own space. What can I say? Now, which leads me into Charity Baptist Church. The gymnasium is bigger than the parking lot. Okay. Parking at this venue, Charity Baptist Church, really stinks. Okay, and the biggest thing about it stinking is that, the convention's supposed to start at 10. Registration starts at 9. Well, I get there, and I've done this for 2 straight years, unfortunately. I get to the convention site at 9:20, a good 40 minutes ahead of time, okay? And it takes me just as long to get from the convention site to my home as it does to find a parking spot. It takes a good 10-15 minutes, okay? Maybe not, maybe more like 5 to 10 minutes, but still a long time to find a parking spot because there's like hardly anywhere to park. The parking lot is... it's weird that the parking lot holds less people than the gymnasium. The gymnasium could probably hold about 300 people. The parking lot, you can tell not many people carpool because we probably are cramming 100 cars into a parking lot that can maybe hold 75, 80, if that. And I'm pretty surprised that the candidates were able to attend our convention because there was just such great concerns with the parking. But I'll tell you, so I get to the convention site 40 minutes ahead of time. So apparently, if we happen to have the county convention at Charity Baptist Church again next year, hopefully not, knock on desk, I'll have to get there right at 9 o'clock, I guess, to not have problems with parking. I mean, I drove around 2 or 3 times and just kept praying, please, God, I don't want to miss my county convention because of inadequate parking. Okay, and finally, the 3rd time around, I was able to find a really small spot with just enough space to squeeze my Honda Accord in between a full-size pickup truck and a car that's like a luxury car that's twice the size of my Honda Accord. So anyway, I hope you have enjoyed my 8-minute rant on parking and convention venue adequacy. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye. No. All right, let me get down to business here. Excuse me. We had 130 delegates attend the Guilford County Convention. I believe last year we had 120, and the year before that was like 100. So our numbers keep going up, which is a really great thing. We started the convention right at 10 o'clock. A hard gavel. And actually at 9:55, Chairman Gleason came on the microphone over the loudspeaker system and gave us our 5-minute warning, and then our 60-second warning, and then we began right at 10 o'clock. That's probably one of the biggest assets of the Chairman Gleason administration. The David Gleason administration. He's always been really great about starting meetings on time. Any meeting you go to, whether it be a convention or a county executive committee meeting, he'll always have on the margins what the times are. Like, well, from 9:10 to 9:20, we're going to hear from county commission. Then 9:20, 9:30, we're going to hear from soil and water conservation, that sort of thing. Okay, so our very first speaker of the day was the chairman of the North Carolina Republican Party, and that is Mr. Michael Whatley. And basically the gist of his speech was that we as a party need to do better. We have a governor, a Democrat governor, Roy Cooper, who really should change his name to Governor Veto, because he holds the record for vetoed legislation by a governor in the state of North Carolina. And we really need to win enough seats in this upcoming election in November to be able to have a supermajority so we can override Cooper's vetoes. And then in 2024, need to win back the governor's mansion and get that in Republican hands. and he said, Whatley said that it was just a terrible thing that they passed the Free the Smiles Act, which is a piece of legislation that would give parents the option to choose whether or not their kids could wear masks or not. I know, such a terrible thing. These parents allowing them to make decisions for their own children. Such a terrible thing, really. So the government should have more power than parents over their own children. Yeah, that's just and so what happened was the Free the Smiles Act was passed by every Republican voted for it, and also at least maybe 5 or 10 Democrats voted for it too. Okay. Problem was the governor vetoed. Well, Speaker Tim Moore, the Republican Speaker of the House, said, okay, well, the governor vetoed it, but based on the fact that we got bipartisan support for that, we decided to try and pass the bill again. Guess what happened? All the Democrats who originally voted for the bill, they've now, in the second passage after the veto, the Democrats voted against it. So the problem with Governor Cooper is twofold. Well, one, he can veto stuff, but secondly, any Democrat who votes with the Republicans to pass a bill, what happens is the governor vetoes, then they go right back. Governor Cooper says, look, man, you better stick with me. If you vote with the Republicans again, I'm going to come after you with a primary opponent, is basically what Cooper does. It's like the Lucy in the Peanuts cartoon, right? Charlie Brown always lines up to kick the football, but guess what? At the last minute, Lucy takes it away, and again, around and around we go. Lucy says, this time's going to be different. Charlie Brown trusts Lucy, and round we go, right? Okay. And then we talked about our, believe it or not, a supermajority on the State Court of Appeals. A 12-3 majority is possible, according to Chairman Whatley. And then finally he says, look, I don't care who wins this U.S. Senate primary. He says I know it's going to upset the U.S. Senate candidates in this room, but I don't care. The bottom line is we have to come together and vote for the Republican. Defeat the Democrat nominee is going to be Sherry Beasley in November. Okay. So now we went into our dearly departed. This is where we pay tribute to activists in the party who have passed away over the past year. And there were two names here. One was Steve Dowdy, who passed away last summer. He's the husband of Diane Dowdy, who was in charge of precinct operation. And Randy Burns, the husband of Sandra A. Burns. And Randy Burns, the neat thing was he loved to visit cows on the farm, and for a number of years he operated a little sandwich shop in downtown Greensboro called Randy's Sandwich Shop. And then threw back to Chairman. By the way, Tina Forsberg was who did the deal, or dearly departed. She is the District 6 party chair, Congressional District 6. Threw it back to Chairman Gleason, who did a salute to Dina Barnes, presents a certificate of service. Dina has spent a lot of time prepping the convention, getting the venue set up, booking the venue, getting the brochures, these lovely programs. And of course, look at all the agenda. Look at all the pretty pictures there. Pretty cool, huh? So, alright. Next. Diane Dowdy, who recently stepped down for precinct operations, did a great job of growing the ranks of the precinct operations. There were 40 precinct chairs. Now that's up to about 70. And there also now over 115 precinct officers. Those are chairs or vice chairs serving the county Republican Party. Okay. Now back to David Gleason. He says good news, bad news. The good news is we have 30 candidates running for office in Guilford County. The bad news is we have 30 candidates running for office. So if you give them 1 minute each, that's 30 minutes to add to your program. 2 minutes each is 60 is an extra hour. 3 minutes each is an hour and a half. Well, David Gleason decided 3 minutes is a good amount of time. A minute's too short. But he just asked that candidates respect their time and the time rules, and that if they go over 3 minutes 5 seconds, he's going to cut their mic off and ask them to sit down. Which with 30 candidates, you really have to keep it to 3 minutes or under, because you would just have a marathon convention. And I like marathon conventions, but a lot of other people don't. Okay, so U.S. Senate. This is Richard Burr is retiring, and this is an open seat. So the Republicans have to find a nominee because Burr's retiring. The first candidate up, and I think there's like 10 candidates running for U.S. Senate. The first candidate to speak on the stage was Marjorie Eastman. She's a combat veteran, and she says that she'll always travel 3 hours to speak for 3 minutes. She's a resident of Cary, which is a suburb of Raleigh, just west of Raleigh. And last summer, Eastman got her motivation to run, and that was because of Biden's error in Afghanistan. And she's the only mom in the race. Every day, or Monday through Friday, she sends her child off to school in a school bus. The horror! No, seriously. Guess who had to ride a school bus for over 12 years for 45 minutes, 90 minutes round trip every single day for 12 years? Me. So, yeah, I know about riding the school bus. But guess what? Mommy and Daddy got to go to work, bring home the bacon so they can take me on vacation every year and feed me every night for dinner, right? So, okay, now we have Pat Mccrory, who you probably already have heard of, the former governor. The guy who did such a good job as governor that he lost re-election in a year that was pretty hospitable, pretty good to Republicans in 2016. Lost his race. Okay, so Pat Mcquarrie did his little dog and pony show with the whole... He learned his values in Jamestown, North Carolina, a posh suburb just south of Greensboro. He went to high school with Paul Newby, the Supreme Court Justice. His dad built gas pumps back in the 1970s. He knows all about the fuel crisis our country is currently facing. He says he wants to eliminate the veto by Cooper, and he says he will come back to Guilford County often because when he was governor, he always came back to Guilford County. And that, my friends, is basically what Pat Mcquarrie had to say. And yeah, I'm not a big fan of Pat Mccrory. I didn't like how he sold the whole tax reform thing. You're gonna pay more for your movie tickets and newspapers. Ugh. I think he's a country clubber. He's a corporatist. He's didn't like the way he stabbed voters in the northern Charlotte suburbs with that whole toll road I-77 situation. Just not a fan. But yes, I will go ahead and say, because there's some people probably going to watch this, that yes, I will look into the camera and assure you that if Pat Mcquarrie is the Republican nominee for U.S. Senate in North Carolina, I will vote for him. Okay? But I'm not going to vote for him in the primary. No. Then we have Mark Walker, former pastor of Lawndale Baptist Church in Greensboro, and then was a U.S. congressman for 6 years. And he says the biggest thing, according to him, is it's not political warfare that we face, it's spiritual warfare. He holds the number one rating of all the candidates in the race for the American First agenda. And he also says that he's not afraid to stand up to Mitch McConnell. And yeah, I'm going to hold him to that on that. Hopefully if he is the nominee and wins, we certainly hope Mark Walker will not be a rubber stamp for McConnell. And hopefully he'll be more like a Rick Scott and more like a Ted Cruz and less of a Tom Tillis or a John Thune or one of those establishment types. Oh, and Mark Walker was also the only person who publicly announced his support for Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson, debating the whole, public schools and teaching kids about LGBTQ and porn and that sort of thing. And then he ripped Tom Tillis and Richard Byrd, the two current Republican, I put Republican in quotation marks, these are more rhino than Republican senators of Byrd and Tillis, but Byrd and Tillis voted for the infrastructure bill, or as Mark Walker says, the infrastructure scam. So that was the U.S. Senate candidates. A whopping 3 out of 10 candidates showed up. The other 7 U.S. Senate candidates, you are the weakest link. Goodbye. Yeah, where is Ted Budd? I mean, has anybody seen him during this campaign? Where is he? Anyway, on to U.S. Congress. We have Marin Bugalaksky. I think I wrote that right, for U.S. Congress, taking on Kathy Manning here in the 6th District. Wants to repair, he has a job, administrative work on the repair of broken healthcare machines. He wants to eliminate waste, and part of his job is eliminating waste and constructing budgets, so he wants to take the same thinking to Washington, D.C. Okay. Then we have Jerry Alston running for Congress. He's a lifelong resident of the Summerfield area of Guilford County, a graduate of NC State, and had a 28-year career in the Guilford County Sheriff's Office. And his main specialization was investigating crimes against children. Then we have Kristen Castile, Fort Bragg, military career down there. His wife is superintendent of a charter school in Asheboro. And he said, did you know that 10% of the students for this charter school in Asheboro actually come from Guilford County? Okay, and his campaign materials, he has them green because he's a former Green Beret. He's not an environmental left-wing kook. Then we have William Bill Shook. Says our big problem in the nation is we have 2 million illegal aliens crossing the southern border. And he says even people from California are trying to come into America. That was a good joke. Says he wrote the book on stupid people, and he actually, yes, has a book on stupid people. He wrote the book online. Yes, he actually has a book online. He presented to the crowd. He says, look, I'm not a nice guy. If you want to send a nice guy to Congress, he's not your guy. Then we heard from the two current Republican legislators, John Hardister, who represents the eastern part of Guilford County, east-southeast. He says he's basically going to yield his time. John Faircloth, who represents West Guilford, southwest Guilford County. Faircloth said that his wife of 63 years passed away just last year, and my grandparents were married for 65 years before my grandfather passed in 2015, and then my grandmother passed in 2018. But fortunately, the good Lord has blessed me with another grandmother, and she is still alive and is going to come visit me 2 months from now. Yay! Along with my mother and my sister, so that'll be fun times there. But okay. So one of the things that John Faircloth did was he used to be chief of police in High Point. He used that experience and his time in the legislature. He's assembled one of the best law enforcement training programs in the USA. And he also has fought and gotten the results of providing more money for programs in Guilford County than Guilford County has ever had before. Okay, now we're on to the City Council. Oh boy. So here's the story with City Council. Usually, the elections for City Council happen in the odd number years. It's supposed to happen last year in 2021, but they could not get the districts drawn in time because a lot of stuff was held up because of COVID. So we're actually, the primary for City Council is actually on May 17th, the same day as the primary for all of the other officers. And then the actual general election for City Council is going to be sometime in July. So yeah, a little weird, but COVID threw a lot of people curveballs and everything, so we just got to deal with it. And then, hopefully, we won't have any more viruses breaking out. The next election for City Council will be in 2025. It used to be every other odd year. Now it's every other odd year, because the City Council is a lot of elitists who think they deserve 4-year terms instead of 2-year terms because they want people to forget their votes and not hold them accountable. It's like, yeah. Anyway, our Republican options for City Council are a little bit limited, but nonetheless, we need to support them and vote for them if we do live in the city of Greensboro, which I do. So the first candidate up was Katie Rasabi. For last year, I said Katie Wasabi, like the spicy Japanese mustard. But no, it's Rasabi with an R. Rasabi. She's running for the at-large seat on the City Council. She says we have to make Greensboro safe and we have to make it business friendly. She says currently it is not safe or business friendly. We have to clean up the homelessness problem. And we also have to make better decisions with our $600 million budget that we work on every year. She says that the situation with the Eugene Street Streetscape project is a disaster. Basically, the City Council is paying Gates Construction $100,000 $1,000 every day just to sit there and do nothing, rather than try to do something productive about the situation. So definitely Google that. I don't know much about the Eugene Streetscape project, other than it's a streetscape project in downtown Greensboro. But if you have a little more time, please research that. And then we have Tony Wilkins running for District 5 on the City Council. He says also running on the same platform as Miss Rasabi, lower crime, and make Greensboro business friendly. And he said that in his previous time, his opponent, who he lost to back in 2017, Tammy Thurm. No, not Lobster Thermidor. Tammy Thurm. Tammy Thurm voted against taking federal funds for police officials, right, to help them out, and then turned around and also raised your taxes. So. And then she is also against take-home cars for police officials, which is a perk that I think High Point offers their police officers. They can have take-home cars, but apparently Greensboro does not. And you wonder why Greensboro is losing or is not being able to recruit good numbers of police officers to Greensboro. Well, that's one of the reasons. Okay, but the thing is the money that was supposed to be allocated for take-home cars was used to upgrade trash pickup. So Tammy Thurm and her ilk said we're going to prioritize trash pickup over public safety. Yeah, I'm scratching my head on that one too. Definitely. Oh, and also that in a 1 month period, there were 2,742 calls last September for 911 that did not have police present. So, in other words, close to 3,000 calls for 911 police were not be able to respond to because we didn't have enough police officers in the city to respond to them. Pretty crazy stuff. But yeah, definitely vote for Tony Wilkins, District 5 City Council, and Katie Rasabi for City Council at large. Let's see, how many pages do I have on this? Okay, wow. I might have to make a two-parter of this. Alright, let me see. Okay, now we have for North Carolina House, Michelle Bardsley, I don't mean to butcher her name, she's a great lady. A teacher for over, I think, 15, 20 years in the business and mathematics field. She is in a newly competitive district that includes Northern Guilford and Summerfield. And she grew up in northeastern North Carolina, used to go out on boating, swimming, water activities on the Albemarle Sound. She's for low taxes, will fight for schools, and believes in no CRT or no critical race theory. And she mentions the Bible verse of Philippians 4:13 as her guidance. Then we have Carter for at-large City Council. I think, figure out what the name in here is. Excuse me a minute. Somewhere in here. Okay. Demetria Carter, candidate for at-large school board. The neat thing about Mrs. Carter is, well, that's her picture. So yeah, pretty cool that we have a A black woman running for Republican on the school board. Diversity, yay. I'm serious. Great stuff. But she talks about parents' rights. Parents need to know, absolutely need to know what's going on in their child's education. She's anti-CRT, anti-racism. And there's a lawsuit on the books that the current school board violated the North Carolina Open Meetings Law. And that was able to go through the court system, and ultimately the school board was found in violation of that. And she was at a last week in downtown Greensboro. There was protesters out by the school board building having big signs up that said, "Tell the truth about U.S. history." And Mrs. Carter walked over there and it's like, "Yeah, I agree with you." And then she talked about, "I want to know everything about U.S. history." And then the protesters kind of backed down and, listen to Mrs. Carter talk about everything about U.S. history. And the protesters were sort of dumbfounded, you can say. Okay, so then we have Tim Andrew running for District 6 of school board. Also a black candidate. Yeah, great stuff. Parent of a Guilford County school student, and he graduated from Guilford County Schools. Mr. Andrew has an MBA and is a certified project manager. Looks at budgets every day, all day, so he knows how to allocate funds properly. He's the son of legal immigrants and believes that all U.S. history should be taught. All of it. It should be taught but all U.S. history should be taught, but it should be taught in a positive way. That promotes everyone is an American. There's not Asian American or Black America or White American. Everybody's American. So, and they talked about a movie that played last Monday. He calls "Whose Children Are They?" Yeah, and I thought it was going to play on Monday or Tuesday, but actually just Monday. It's kind of a weird day to have a movie play just for one day, but keep that movie in mind. Hopefully it'll be released somewhere for streaming services or a DVD, or maybe it'll come back to theaters. Whose Children Are They? Talks about the whole government indoctrination, government versus parents battle that's heating up in the schools. And by the way, I don't mean to make a big deal about people's skin color in these races, but I just think it's great to see that the Republicans are more and more people of different ethnicities are coming out and realize that the Republicans are for are not just for white people, it's for all people, all Americans. The Republicans have a American first positive agenda about them. Okay. And then let's see, we heard from Mark Ridgel, running for District 2 on the school board, a current school safety officer. And he wanted to introduce another candidate for District 6 school board, Dr. Matt Ginnon. Dr. Ginnon has 3 kids in Guilford County. Dr. Ginnon is associate professor over at High Point University in health sciences, exercise, physiology. His biggest concern with students is learning loss caused by the pandemic, and he says that the data is showing that there is a 20% loss in math and biology knowledge from the pandemic. 20%. That's quite a bit. And then he talked about there's a lot of budget issues the county school board need to be ironed out. Then Linda Welburn, who's an incumbent District 4 on the school board, running for her 4th term. She has an 18-year career in info systems, information technology, computer things of that caliber. She believes education eliminates poverty, and her main goal has been and will always be to stand up for children. Okay. So here's the deal. I need to actually head out the door to work now. But hopefully the next day or two I will finish this coverage of the 2022 Guilford County GOP Convention. I still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's like wow, a lot of information. 10 pages, I think. But I'm going to stop right here, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye-bye.